Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of BAM GPG. I'll be your host, Ben.
And I'll be your co-host, Bryson.
And today, Bryson, we're going to get into another 7-round mock draft. However, this time we are going to allow trades into this one. So that'll be another aspect of this draft. And again, it's a 7-round mock draft. So we're going to get a little bit deeper into the players, get a little more familiar with this year's draft class. And I'm excited to get into it. And if you haven't already, go ahead and like and subscribe, and you can follow us on TikTok at BAMGPG. So, Bryson, let's go ahead and kick this one off. Again, we are going to be drafting with the Packers, so we'll have the 23rd pick in this year's draft class, and we're really going to be kind of honing in on positions of need for the Packers. So, what is that? So, Green Bay, we're going to be looking at defensive backs, edge rushers, offense, defensive line, and wide receiver. Yeah. So that doesn't mean, though, if there's, best available players out on the board, that's a guy you can't pass up on. Absolutely. We'll take a look at him as well. But without any further ado, Bryson, I'll get this first round kicked off, and I'll let you start with the first pick. And I will stop at right about the 10th pick in the draft, see if you want to explore a trade.
Okay.
All right, so the Bears are on the clock with pick number 10. So just do a quick recap for everyone here. So number 1 overall, Cam Ward. So he is the top quarterback in this year's draft class. No doubt about it. Tennessee needs a quarterback. They're going through a rebuild. Makes a ton of sense. Travis Hunter, number 2 overall to Cleveland. Cleveland also needs a quarterback. They should probably bring in that next guy. Watson experiment really hasn't panned out for him. Travis Hunter is in my opinion, is probably the premier player in this year's draft class. However, they need a quarterback. Quarterbacks aren't that deep in this year's draft class, right? So if you're picking number 2, I would strongly suggest, if your team going through a rebuild, looking at a guy like Sanders, right? Cam Ward's probably going to be off the board unless Cleveland was able to move up one spot in the draft to take Cam Ward first. And then McMillan, probably the top wide receiver in the draft. He's a big-bodied wide receiver. I think he's 6'4", 215, 220. Fantastic wide receiver out of Arizona. Abdul Carter. I know he has some concerns with his foot right now, but he is the top edge rusher in this year's draft out of Penn State's fantastic edge rusher. He's probably the most NFL-ready coming out of this year's draft. And then Shedeur Sanders, you see him right there, to Oakland at number 6. Again, he's probably quarterback number 2 in this year's draft. Oakland absolutely needs a quarterback, so that makes a ton of sense there. And then a little bit of a surprise here, the Jets went with Burden III, a wide receiver from Missouri, with the 7th overall pick. Now, the Jets, they're moving on from Aaron Rodgers, right? So we don't know what their plans are for this offseason. I would think that they would probably go out and try to bring in a veteran presence, maybe somebody like a Sam Darnold, somebody of that caliber to kind of be a stopgap until you can draft and kind of build through that way. So, Bryson, with that, did you want to explore a trade here?
Let's go to pick 15.
Pick 15 is the Falcons. Did you want to try? You want to try to pull a trade with the Falcons? So moving up, let's see if we can find Atlanta here. There they are. They have pick 15. So that means we'd probably have to give up the 23rd in this year's draft. And then maybe...
let's try 3rd.
Probably do a 3rd. Let's take the 3rd off, see if they'd be interested in 4th. They would. So it'd have to be a 1st and a 3rd. Maybe we can go with their pick 244.
Let's try it.
Hang on. Let's see if they... Nope, they wouldn't want to give up a next year's 3rd. So we can offer that trade. That'll move us. Not accepted.
Let's remove that pick.
They don't want to move back on us here.
Really?
So they got a guy they like. They don't want to move off of. We could try with Indianapolis if you'd like.
Yeah.
They have pick 14 in the draft. May have to give up. We could give up a 2nd next year.
No, let's give up a 3rd this year. Remove that 3rd. Maybe a 3rd and a 3rd next year. a third next year.
All right, we can offer this trade, see if it'll move up, and they took it. So we gave up our first and 2/3 for their first. So that moves us up about 9 spots here in the draft. So I'm going to go ahead and resume the draft here.
Okay.
So what happened since then? You had a defensive lineman, Mason Graham from Michigan. Again, very solid player. I like him a lot coming out of Michigan. The Bears went with the tight end. Of course, they need running back and offensive line help, but they elected to go with the tight end. No surprise there. Tyler Warren is a huge body tight end. He's a big kid. One of the top corners in the draft outside of Travis Hunter. Jahdae Barron from Texas went to San Francisco. And those are some of the notable ones. So that brings you onto the clock here, Bryson.
I am so surprised. Ashton Jeanty.
Yeah, he's probably the most talented here. He'd be a hard pass at this point.
Let's look at him.
So Ashton Jeanty. So quick snapshot of his season, Bryson. His overall grade on the year was a 94.9 at the position. He had 2,595 yards, just ridiculous, right? And receiving, right? He had 23 receptions on 33 targets, 138 yards. Rushing grade, 96.6. Gap grade, 92.1. The stat that I like to look at a lot, Bryson, is his yards after contact. So, is he going down right away? Is he still fighting for those extra yards? Is he able to break through tackles? He's got 5.25 yards after initial contact. So, to me, that's fantastic. He's 5'9", 215. He's only 21 years old. Again, top running back in the draft class by far. So, it is surprising that he fell that far outside of the top 10, but he is available at number 14 if you'd want to take him. Not necessarily a position of need for us, but you can't go wrong with that.
Let's look at Mike Green.
Mike Green, absolutely. Edge rusher from Marshall.
You know what? We need him. He's great. I'm going to take him.
You're going to pass up Ashton Jeanty?
We don't need him.
We don't. It's going to be hard to pass up on him, though. You saw like the Lions when they went out and got Jahmyr Gibbs after signing Montgomery. That worked out well for them. So you never know. But we are deep at running back. You're correct.
Yep, I'm taking Mike Green.
Mike Green. All right. Here he is.
It was a hard pass on Will Johnson, too.
Absolutely. So this will bring us to the second round here. As we work through it. And now, this round, I may look at going wide receiver possibly in this round. We'll see what's available still once we get on the clock here. So we are on the clock. So best available, you got a safety, you got a interior defensive lineman, Alfred Collins, and cornerback, Darren Porter. He just ran a fantastic 40-yard dash at the combine too. So let's see what we got for trades out there. So we have pick 55. Let's see. First, I want to see who's available. So I want to look at wide receivers here. Looks like my guy Higgins off the board. So where did he go? He went 2 spots in front of us to Pittsburgh. Jaden Higgins, like him a lot. He's 6'4", 6'5", coming out of Iowa State. Fantastic kid. Had a fantastic season. But he went 2 spots in front of us here. So this may be a position where I try to trade out of here and try to get some draft capital back. So let's see if Kansas...
You should try a third.
They're not interested in the third. Let's see if we can... Oh, that's their second. So let's go to their third.
Maybe add...
132 for our 160. Let's offer this trade. See what we got. They accepted it here. So we're going to move back here in the second round. So we are on the clock. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up our wide receiver core here. You got Xavier Restrepo still on the board. He graded out an 82.3, had 1,127 yards on the season. His receiving grade this year was an 83.5. Grade versus man coverage, one of the stats I really like looking at, 87.6. So that's pretty decent there. Had a good collegiate career. He is only 5'10", 198, so he's not addressing that need with Watson out, that big-bodied wide receiver. But he certainly had a good season. Now, in the slot, so he took a lot more snaps out of the slot. So it looks like he's primarily a slot wide receiver, 448 snaps out of the slot spot. Wide snaps only 47. So we do have Jayden Reed on the team, so I don't know if I'd necessarily be as interested in drafting another slot receiver when we need help on the outside. So for that reason, I probably won't go with Xavier on this one. Let's take a look at Jalen. No, I think he can probably be available. So I am going to actually look at see what's available here for cornerbacks. Xavier Restrepo. So again, he had a great season, 82.3. Receiving grade. Well, I just looked at him. So let's close out him. I want to. Benjamin Morrison still on the board. So let's go to cornerback here. I do like Morrison. He did have a little bit of an injury issue. I think it was with his hips here. But a fantastic cornerback out of Notre Dame. I like him a lot. 6 foot, 190. I'm going to go ahead and take Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame with our second round pick, Bryson.
Okay. We have a third. I'm pretty sure.
Yep, so that'll bring us to our picks here in the third round. So we are on the clock, Bryson.
We have not addressed wide receiver.
We have not addressed the wide receiver yet. Got Torrey Horton, a pretty decent wide receiver from Colorado
Let's
State.
look at him.
So he graded out an 82.3. Receiving grade was 81.4. First man coverage, it's right about the average mark, 72.3. So you'd like to see that improve a little bit. He does have decent size to him. He's 6'3", 185.
Let's take him.
We're going to go with Torrey Horton, Colorado State Rams. So let's go ahead and draft him. And that'll bring us to the end of the third round. And then here we go into the fourth round of this draft. And I believe we have 2 picks in this fourth round. So that puts us on the clock. So I want to look at some of our big boys in the middle on defense. So let's look at our interior defensive linemen. I like Riley Mills. Let's take a look at CJ West here. So Indiana boy, graded out 83.6, had 1 sack on the year, 5 hits, 19 quarterback hurries, 1 batted pass. So his pass rush grade was 73, so right on average there. His run defensive grades where he really excelled, he had an 88.1 there. Height 6'2", 317, so he's a big body that you can kind of plug and play right there in the middle of the field, especially on those rundowns. I like him. I want to take a look at Riley Mills here real quick. So Mills would be kind of the opposite guy, right? So his pass rush grades where he kind of really excels, 83.1, versus his run defense, which was, kind of a poor 61.9 there. Only had 21 quarterback hurries, did have 8 sacks on the season, so fantastic for a defensive lineman. I think it's probably a little bit too high for him. I am going to go with CJ West, really get that run stopper up the middle for us.
Okay.
So that'll bring you back to you, Bryson, here in the fourth round.
Who's offering us a trade?
We can pull up the trades here. So Minnesota, they have pick 140. So that would be 8 spots lower than we're currently at.
Let's see what we can do.
They wouldn't have any interest, and that's all they have in this year's draft. So I probably wouldn't look at trading with them.
Have we addressed guard yet?
We haven't. So we can look at our interior offensive line here.
Center. Not
Yeah,
guard.
so this would be kind of your guard center position right here. Your true center is Seth McLaughlin, kind of a smaller body guy. Still good.
Let's look at him.
All right, so we'll look at Seth. So graded out at 70.7, run blocking not that great, 67.9. pass blocking grade, a little bit better, right on average, 74.1. Didn't allow any sacks on the year. Did allow 7 hurries on the quarterback. And as I said, a little bit, 6'4", 305. So he does have decent size to him at center there.
Let's take him.
You want to go with Seth McLaughlin?
Actually, let's look at Connor Colby.
We'll take a look at this guy here real quick too. Guard from Cincinnati. So he graded out 76.7. Again, no sacks allowed on the quarterback this year. His run blocking grade, at the average mark, so that's great. His pass blocking grade's above average at 84.1. Certainly graded out higher than McLaughlin, no doubt about that. So size-wise, very comparable, 6'4", 323.
Yeah. Let's look at Connor Colby.
Connor Colby graded out at 77.1. Run blocking grade, 77.3. Pass blocking grade, not so great, 66.9. He is a big body, right? 6'6", 310. Could possibly move him out to tackle in the NFL. Gives you that versatility at the next level, something that you need in the NFL as injuries arise. So certainly gives you that flexibility and move him up or down the line. Maybe a little bit high for him. He's graded out 166 in this year's draft class. We are picking at 132.
Let's take Connor Colby.
You want to take Connor Colby here? All right. We'll take the Iowa boy. Pick 132.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings us down into I believe we are in the 5th round now. So we got rid of our 5th round pick. So we are now in the 6th round.
Mm-hmm.
Pick 200 here in the 6th round. So want to look at the best available here.
Jay
I may look at another Iowa boy here. So linebacker Jay Higgins, right? Had a fantastic season, really a fantastic collegiate career. But he graded out an 87 on this year. His pass rush grade is 71.9. His run defense grade, slightly above average at 76. And he's a decent size for a linebacker. He's 6'2", 232. Again, he's had a great last couple seasons, 89.4 the year prior to that. I like him. Green Bay needs to add a little bit more depth at linebacker, so I'm going to go ahead and take Jay Higgins at pick 200.
Okay.
That'll round out the 6th round, Bryson, and we are in the 7th round. So we're going to let you finish it out here with the 7th round draft pick in this mock draft here.
Let's look at the top guy.
Top guy is a quarterback. So we'll get out of the quarterbacks here a little bit. You have some linebacker, safety, guards, tackles.
Let's look at this wide receiver.
Wide receiver, Kyren Lacy. Graded out at 71.9, had 866 receiving yards on the year. Receiving grade, pretty average, 72.7. Grade versus man coverage, average again, 75.5. So that's pretty decent. Now his snaps, primarily lining up on the outside, right, versus the slot spots. Almost 3-to-1 differentials, 371 on the outside, 104 in the slot. And again, he's got decent size to him, 6'2", 213.
Yeah, let's take him.
Kyren Lacy. We're going to go ahead and pull him with our 7th round pick in this year's mock draft. So that'll round out our picks. And we have one more in the 7th round I forgot about. So let's take a look, see what we got. It'll be our version of Mystery Relevant here.
Yep.
So let's take a look at. Didn't have a whole lot of production this year. I might go down. We're pretty solid at safety. Possibly tight end. Not liking what I'm seeing there. And linebacker, 68. Not great. We are in the 7th round, so it's pretty slim picking at this point. We'll look at There we go. So defensive lineman, Tonka Hemingway. Pass rush grade 73, run defense grade 65. Had 5 sacks on the season for South Carolina. Size-wise, he's 6'3", 288, so he's a little bit smaller for your defensive lineman. You'd like to see him add a little bit to that weight at the next level. But I like him.
Hopefully this guy turns into the Tom Brady of defensive linemen.
Let's go ahead. Yeah, there we go. We'll go ahead and take him.
2 awards.
2 awards. So there we go. To kind of round out our draft. Mike Green, A+ pick on that one, Bryson. Benjamin Morrison, B+. Torrey Horton, a D. Didn't like my pick there. CJ West, a C+. Connor Colby, they really didn't like that pick, Bryson, a D-. Jay Higgins, B-. Kyron Lacey, a B+, and a C+ on Tonka Hemingway. So we are in the top 49% of Green Bay drafts, graded out with a B in this draft.
What's this handshaking one?
I'm assuming it's something to do with trades. That would be my guess. And then you got a 7-round badge. So I'm okay with this one. I would come away feeling good. Wide receiver, probably not feeling as good with this draft, but definitely feel good at edge. Felt like we got better there. Got a fantastic cornerback in Benjamin Morrison, Mike Green at edge. Got a decent linebacker to rotate in there at Jay Higgins. And we got some interior defensive linemen. Got a run stopper in CJ West from Indiana. And then you got kind of your pass rush project in Tonka Hemingway. So, yeah, decent draft overall. A little bit light on the wide receivers, but everywhere else, I think we addressed it pretty well.
Yeah. And as always,
it's Go Pack Go.